Welcome back, friends. So today's episode is really meta. I've been talking a lot this last month about resistance and the need for us as practitioners to know how to work with resistance. And also, we need to know how to work with resistance for ourselves, especially if we're entrepreneurs. But really, anyone needs to know. And on this episode, I'm going to be sharing very personally, as I often do, and it's about my own resistance that cropped up lately. And actually, it's about my own resistance to making this particular podcast episode. I think you'll find it eye-opening because I'll be sharing some lessons from the mini incident that occurred. I think you'll also find it normalizing and inspiring for you when it comes to your own marketing and your own visibility. I also have a feeling that you'll find my story kind of entertaining. And then from there, I'm going to tell you about exactly what's inside the 4-week navigating client resistance training, including some surprising things that you'll love and get a kick out of, and also what you can achieve in terms of client work and also your own goals by using the resistance techniques. So, like I said, my story today is kind of meta. It starts a few weeks ago when someone on my team suggested that I do a short podcast episode giving more details all about the 4-week navigating client resistance training that's starting in June. It was suggested to me by a team member via email. And when I first read the email, I thought it was a great idea. And I thought it was a great idea for a few reasons. One reason is because so many people have been stepping into the training and asking questions about the training. And it just makes sense that sharing more about it here on the podcast would be a great way to give you more of the information on the training that you're looking for. The second reason I thought it was a great idea is because if you know me, you know that everything I do, even when I'm sharing about one of my offerings, I see a teaching opportunity and an opportunity to provide value for others, regardless of whether you ever decide to step into a program or not. And so, of course, in sharing more details about the navigating client resistance training, it would also give me an opportunity to go deeper into sharing golden nuggets around resistance. So I received that suggestion to do this episode, exclusively on the 4-week training. And I thought it was a great idea, though there was a little nudge inside of me that felt a little uncomfortable about it. But I kind of ignored that nudge. I ignored that discomfort, and I planned to do an episode about the training. And that was that for like 15 hours until I woke up the next morning and felt like this was the worst idea in the world. The feeling of alignment around doing the episode from the day before had completely vanished. And instead, I woke up feeling like it was the worst, stupidest idea in the world. Like such a bad idea that no one could have ever thought of something worse to do. My worry, the reason I thought it was such a bad idea, was that I decided it was icky to spend too much time on the podcast to talk about a program that I'm selling. I was in deep judgment and all up in my kind of snooty, holier than thou thinking that it's not okay to share too much about an offering. I decided that it was even downright wrong to take time on the podcast to lay out information about the navigating client resistance training. But here's the thing. I didn't just think these thoughts and then make the decision to not do a podcast episode on it and then happily move on with my day. Instead, I ruminated on it. I kept on coming back to the idea and getting upset about it. I was really judgmental and almost kind of triggered about the whole thing all day long. My inner judge was out in full force, and I couldn't move off of it. Now, I know myself, and I've worked with my own resistance enough over the years to know that because I was ruminating with judgment, there was something deeper going on for me. And by the end of that day, I started to inquire deeper. And as I inquired deeper, I could see that what I was actually worried about was that people would decide that they hated me for taking time on the podcast to share about my offering. Now, the fear of people hating me is a core fear of mine. It's one that I've worked with a lot over the years, but oftentimes when something, particularly in my business, is stretching me, usually that fear of everybody hating me is going to come up. And so because I recognized all of this, I was able to be with this core fear in a different way. And I was able to pause and to look deeper. And what I saw was that it's not that it's actually wrong or unethical to take time on the podcast to share information about an offering, because of course anyone can just choose to not listen to that particular episode. I'm not forcing anyone into listening about the training. This is, of course, so obvious, but for that one day when I was caught in deep judgment, it was because what was really catching me was that fear of people hating me. I just couldn't see it at first. Now, I share this story with you, number one, to normalize for you if something similar has happened for you before. How many times have you held yourself back from sharing about your work because you were worried that people will hate you or get angry at you, or you were worried that people would think that you were taking up too much space because you were sharing about your work, or that people would get annoyed at you? So if this has happened for you in any way, my friend, I hope you can see that you are in good company. But that being said, how about you and I make a deal? How about let's catch ourselves a little more when we go to those places? Yes. How about we catch ourselves before we stop ourselves from not sending out the email or not doing the podcast episode or not putting the post on social media? That way we can make more impact on the world with our important work. Now, I also share this story because it is a great example of resistance and how my resistance could have ultimately bit me in the butt and held me back from taking action if I didn't know how to spot it or work with it. As with any kind of resistance that comes up, hopefully you can see in my story that there is a strong energy. I call that strong energy a resistance archetype that's there to mask or distract from a core fear. In the case of my story, the resistance archetype for me was the judge, and the core fear was the fear of people hating me. And if you've got an inner judge like I do, you know that it can be very sneaky. But maybe your most predominant resistance archetype is the procrastinator archetype. And for you, when you go into fear, you get stuck in procrastination or you simply check out. Or maybe for you, your most predominant resistance archetype is the needy one. And then, so for you, when you go into fear or a trigger, you feel like you can't do anything on your own and you need others to hold your hand on each step of the way. Or maybe for you, your predominant resistance archetype is the victim. That's another one for me. I did an episode on it a few weeks back. If this is one of yours, the victim archetype, then maybe you tend to get really negative and catastrophize things when they seem hard or scary. Or maybe for you, it's the confused one archetype. And when you're presented with something really stretchy, you get overwhelmed and confused with the details. And maybe as I'm sharing some of these archetypes, you recognize them not only for yourself, but if you're working with clients, in your clients as well. If yes, again, please know that you're not alone. And also that you can help yourself and your clients through these obstacles. Most coach or practitioner trainings don't teach you how to support yourself, your clients to navigate through resistance. And that's the only reason why you haven't been able to do it yet. Teaching coaches and practitioners about the resistance archetypes and how to specifically respond to each one so that you can feel confident in knowing that you're helping your clients through their toughest obstacles is one of my favorite things to do. And that's why I've been shouting from the rooftops, metaphorically at least, about the Navigating Client Resistance Intensive that's starting in a couple of weeks. Over the 4 sessions of the training, I'm going to be laying out step by step by step the exact somatic techniques that I use that have my own private clients amazed at how they're able to overcome distraction, procrastination, helplessness, negativity, overwhelm, and so much more. I created this training because I saw so many practitioners struggling with helping their clients who were seemingly stuck and off track. And I created it not only because I'm a transformation nerd who wants practitioners to know how to help their clients, but also because I want practitioners to feel good about the work that they're doing. I want you to feel confident knowing that you can meet your clients' needs and help them cross their obstacles no matter what they bring up, no matter what they bring to session. I want you to feel like you are on purpose in your work and like you are being ethical in terms of following through on the marketing promises you're making. I also want you to feel proud to share about your work in the world, knowing that you know how to really help your clients and how to make a difference in their lives. And when you learn how to navigate client resistance, you're able to do all of this and more. So this is how the Navigating Client Resistance training works. We meet once a week for 2 hours at a time over the course of 4 weeks in June. And during those 2-hour training calls, I teach you step by step how to navigate the victim, the judge, the procrastinator, the needy one, and a number of the other resistance archetypes. You don't only learn a technique, which is highly effective, but you also learn the behavior and the psychology behind resistance and fear, as well as behind each of the resistance archetypes. And learning the behavior, the background behavior is so important so that you understand exactly how to use the resistance technique in any given situation. And then along with our training calls, you also get extensive resource sheets. And what's particularly a gold mine is that you get written out scripts that are different for you to use for each of the resistance archetypes. And of course, my favorite part of the training is engaging with you, coaching you, answering your questions, supporting you through your own resistance on your goals, and also doing demos of all of the techniques. I'm kind of at your disposal for the 4 weeks of the training, and I'm there to help and support you with whatever you need, both in real time on our training calls, as well as in between sessions in our private Facebook group. Navigating client resistance also includes bonuses. One is how to apply all of this learning about resistance to your marketing, because as you probably know, resistance doesn't only come up when you're working with client on their goals. Resistance also comes up when a prospect is considering working with you. And so I take you step by step on how to really address resistance in your marketing. And the program also includes a bonus ticket to a full 3-day virtual retreat that I'm hosting in the autumn called The Art of Client Transformation. And it includes a bunch of other surprise goodies along the way. I am not exaggerating when I say that these 4 weeks will make you a better practitioner, period. It will help you feel more confident in your work. It will help you feel so equipped to support your clients through the obstacles that they bring to you. And this is the case whether you're just starting out as a practitioner or whether you've been working with clients for decades. The other thing is that this training will teach you how to have so much more self-love and self-compassion, both for yourself as a practitioner, but also for yourself as a human. It will also teach you how to work with your own resistance so that you can accomplish more of what you want to accomplish in your professional and personal life. Right now, there's a special rate on the 4-week training. It is only $525 or 2 payments of $270. I feel a little funny saying this, but I'm going to go ahead and say it because it's true. The price is kind of a steal for everything that you are going to learn, embody, and all that's going to be transformed over these 4 sessions. So I'm going to link to the training in the show notes. And if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out. We'd love to talk to you about it. Okay, my friends, I did it. I overcame my resistance. I overcame my inner judge this time, and I made this podcast session all about the navigating client resistance training. I hope that everything that I shared in today's episodes inspires you to take your next steps as well. Until next time, my friends, it is such a pleasure to have you. And I am so glad that you listened to this episode. If you loved it, please leave 5 stars and let all your friends know.